Wow. That's the first word out of my mouth as I drive down the winding coastal roads towards Dubrovnik, and I imagine I'm not alone. What else is there to say as this famous walled city comes into view? Set between a backdrop of jagged mountains and serene coastline, Dubrovnik feels like a world of its own. The light of dawn dances across the red roofs of town, illuminating the curving avenues and alleyways through the city. Given its historical relevance and jaw-dropping scenery, it's no wonder this is a European hotspot for tourism and filmmaking alike. On this trip, I'll be finding out just what the locals think of their worldwide attention and how they maintain a sense of tradition in an ever-changing world. Our world moves fast, and most of the time I'm running full speed ahead with it. But every now and then, an adventurer like myself needs to stop and take a breath.
We need more people like you in the world.
I'm Ryan Pyle, and I'm always on the move.
It's an exciting place to be.
But this time around, I'm taking things a bit slower.
Oh, I didn't think this was going to go this way. Wow.
Making new friends through lasting experiences.
I came to Heidelberg to meet inspiring people.
And finding home in all the places in between.
These walls are incredible.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
This is the Nomad. Croatia's coast has long been called the most beautiful in all of Europe. Its long, narrow stretch of mountainous territory along the Mediterranean leaves most wanting more. And it's that very coastline that makes the city of Dubrovnik the scenic destination that it is today. I can't wait to start exploring, with the ever-present sea breeze guiding the way. Walk around the old town of Dubrovnik for just a few minutes and you might find yourself forgetting it's the 21st century. As far as you can see in any direction, these buildings share a common history, predating anyone walking amongst them now. Where your line of vision stops is likely the fortified walls that border this town. But the walls and the city itself are even more popular now, since the television series Game of Thrones used it as a set for several seasons. This modern context is impossible to escape, as one of the show's most popular sets, called King's Landing, exists right on the water's edge.
So this is the famous pier where anyone who came in or out of King's Landing, this is where they filmed that scene.
Yeah, it became very popular because wherever you take a look, it's something from season 2 all the way to season 8 was filmed over here. And everybody remembers it because Jon Snow was standing in the same location where I'm standing,
Right.
saying goodbye to his family, and he went outside of the King's Landing.
Right.
But Dubrovnik has so much more to offer than just pop culture relevance. I'm not here for TV trivia. I'm here to get to know a brand new place. The people here have such real energy. Walking through the town, locals seem excited. Everyone seems to know each other, and the streets are buzzing with conversation.
So I know probably every single person who lives inside the walls.
Okay.
Not that I know them, I know the addresses where they live on.
Right. And their parents.
And their parents. So it's like, you know, like a show, Everybody Loves Raymond.
Right.
We all live in our family homes
Okay.
throughout the generations.
I've got to admit, I'm having a hard time focusing on anything but the beauty of the architecture and the vistas around me. But I'm determined to get to know the people of Dubrovnik this week. The people who keep this place alive and modern, pulling from its incredibly rich history.
I'm in Dubrovnik. A lot of you might have heard of the name of this city because of multi-million-dollar film and television productions that have come through here in the last few years. But I tell you, the city is so much more than that. 450 years as an independent state. One of the first cities or city-states to abolish slavery. One of the first cities to actually recognize the United States after the War of Independence with the British. These walls are incredible. And I'm here this week to really kind of get to the heart of what Dubrovnik really is. And I'm going to be doing that by meeting some incredibly inspiring people.
And where are we going to find these characters? Well, The local farmers market is always a good place to start. Grabbing an espresso and a seat at a nearby cafe, I get some solid people-watching time in before I catch up with my pal Bo, a local tour guide who has seen this place through many phases in time.
My name is Božidar.
Okay.
It's my full name. Most of my English-speaking guests call me Bo.
Okay.
Božidar Jukic. And I'm a Dubrovnik local, born and raised, and been professionally involved in tourism in the last 15 years. So I know the city well.
And you've seen a lot of changes, no doubt.
Oof. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful cities around the world that are also wonderful tourist destinations.
Right.
But then there are absolute top destinations in the world. Mm-hmm. And the difference between the two is not the quality of service or anything like that. It's PR.
Sure.
Right? So imagine if you're talking about top destinations, you're immediately thinking of what? Paris, Rome,
Venice.
Maybe London, New York, Venice. You know,
Yeah.
if you think about these destinations, how many movies, how many songs, how many videos they were in?
Right.
Right? Like hundreds. And that's one of the reasons why they're so, because they became a part of pop culture.
Okay.
Right? So I think Dubrovnik, it was good for Dubrovnik to get on screen. It's absolutely good that Dubrovnik gets this attention.
Sure.
But now it's a bit of a mix, because now you're getting a certain demographic that has nothing to do either with cruise ships or with what you're saying, like this antithesis
Right.
of cruise ships, but are just here because it's a backdrop.
Right.
And a lot of people in Dubrovnik have a problem with this.
Sure.
Because it's sort of reducing the city to just a movie set
Right.
in the minds of some of the people.
Some people come here and think that it is a movie set,
Yeah.
and that it was built by
Yeah.
Hollywood studios.
Yeah, some people think like the city walls are fake or something like this,
Right.
you know.
We've heard
which
some of
is
those stories,
which is
too.
yeah, that's ridiculous, but what can you do, you know?
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I don't care. I don't mind that people come here because it's a movie set.
Sure.
What I do mind is that, we need to place an emphasis on other things.
Yeah.
Because it's great that it is also a movie set.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But take a moment also to learn about the history.
Exactly.
And what better way to understand a city's history than to view the creations that have come from it? I'm wandering now through the Museum of Modern Art in Dubrovnik, an inspiring gallery full of Balkan art. Unlike the Museum of Modern Art in New York, this museum focuses less on the global scene and more on the local, taking into consideration the shapes and colors of the city. I've got the museum all to myself, apart from Jelena, who's their passionate curator. She's showing me some of her favorite pieces before we sit down to chat.
So what is it about Dubrovnik that makes this place a hub for art?
Well, Dubrovnik has a very peculiar situation when you take into consideration the context of the art scene in Croatia, because usually in smaller countries, the artists tend to be in, for example, in the big centers such as Rijeka, Zagreb, or Split. But Dubrovnik, as I have already mentioned, it provides a very good environment, and also a lot of painters who are academically trained painters, they tend to return to Dubrovnik because they don't have so many problems with the financial requirements for their studios or for their life here.
Right.
For example, the problems that they would encounter in some other cities. So we are very blessed that we have a lot of artists coming back to Dubrovnik and enriching our art scene in the end.
Because it's such a beautiful place to live.
Exactly.
And it's not, it's not as expensive as the capital. And you have beautiful sunshine and a beautiful sea every day to look out to. So I can see how that's inspiring.
Yes, but also we have some other problems in the other end. Those are the tourist crowds and everything what comes with the massive tourism. So a lot of artists, they also deal in their artworks with these kind of problems. So later when we walk through the collection, we will also see that artists, they tend to criticize this aspect of the city.
Tourism is on the minds of everyone here, it seems. And walking around this museum, I can totally understand why. There's such a rich culture to protect here. The whole city is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. If you just stop through town on a cruise or a tour of the coast, do you really have the time to reflect on all the masterworks here? Likely not. Outside in the sculpture garden, there's a magnificent view of the city and the sea, a healthy reminder of what brings so many to this city, and also why it's so worth taking care of.
Any place that suffers from over-tourism is you know, the local people definitely, they make some money, which is great, but then they also, you know, they don't have any privacy and everything is busy all the time.
Exactly.
So they lose that kind of connection to their own city in some ways.
But the Dubrovnik people, they tend to be very active in this regard, so they're very defensive when it comes to the soul of the city. So that's why there's a lot of art production here, theater production, also the writing. So it's very at a high level because people, they also want to reflect their roots in a very rich history in Dubrovnik, and they want to continue on these terms, but also they want to, with criticizing, they want to be more constructive in their critics. They want to actually support the people who fight actually for the soul of the city, as I have said.
To find the soul of the city, I always follow the spirits. In this case, beer. The push and pull of locals and tourists in Dubrovnik seems to inspire many here to help make a name for the local people. One shining example is Dario, the owner of the Dubrovnik Beer Company. There are not many craft breweries in Dubrovnik, and with his local ales, stout, and lager, Dario is very much making a name for the flavor of his hometown. Dubrovnik Beer Company has 4 signature brews, paving the way for a local beer scene, and Dario is kind enough to give me both a tour and a taste of what he's been up to.
So you built your whole brewery and your whole company based on the history of trading
Yes.
of Dubrovnik.
And we want to tell that story.
And you named the beers after the wind
Yes.
because the wind had to be good to carry the ships.
You need it.
You need it,
Without
right?
that, you cannot travel in that time.
In that time.
Century. So the maestro is the actually it's in Croatia. It's summer wind.
Okay.
It's blowing from the sea to the land, and it's very refreshing because in the summer it's very hot. So this is a very refreshing beer for the summer. It's not too strong. It's 4.5 of alcohol, and it's quite easy. So it's for summer beer.
The easy summer lager. Named after the winds.
After winds in Croatia.
That's nice.
That's nice. Cheers.
The trade winds grace the city year-round, turning down stairways and streets, making evenings a bit chilly this time of year. But as the day moves along, more and more locals populate the cafes and bars, always favoring the outdoor seating. It's nice to see Dario's influence on his neighbors. Many bars serve Dario's beer here, and we spot some customers drinking his signature brews. I buy Dario one of his own beers, a little nod to his hard work. This is where all that work pays off, after all.
The Dubrovnik has the famous story, you know. It's a lot of influence to the whole world, not
Right.
only this part of Balkan, of Europe, of everything. Yeah.
Right.
They were
Are you proud to be from Dubrovnik?
very,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's definitely a sense of like, you know, I think when people say they're from Dubrovnik, I think they stand up a little straighter.
Yeah, yeah.
Dubrovnik?
Yeah, I'm from Dubrovnik.
It's a nice thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's a beautiful city.
Thanks.
Traveling can be busy, sometimes a chaotic experience, especially when you're moving around as much as I am. As a nomad, I'm on the road most days of the year, finding new places and people to meet. So where do I find my peace and quiet? There isn't a single answer, but a more dependable option is early mornings. As the sun is rising on Dubrovnik today, I'm up before most, wandering the walls of the city. These walls are around you at all times in Dubrovnik, and I don't want to wait any longer to experience them for myself. It's a whole different view up here, almost like the experience of flying out and over a city. I can see the entire layout, pondering little scenes I'm witnessing below.
The best way to understand just how small Dubrovnik is to walk the city walls like I am this morning. It's about a 2-kilometer journey. It takes just under an hour, and it gives you great perspective just as to how compact the old town is and how important these walls would have been to sea defense.
I love having the walls to myself at this time of day. It's a great way to wake up before meeting with Alan, a former Olympic water polo athlete who now runs a few races here in town. By far, the most popular race follows the same path I took this morning, around the city walls. fortifications are not very wide, and so only one runner starts at a time, with all runners on a staggered clock. This makes for a beautiful solo run around the city, racing against yourself and the wall's path. If you're a runner and a traveler, this event has got to be on your bucket list.
You have these beautiful city walls,
Yes.
the most iconic city walls. So what are you trying to do with these city walls? Because I read a little bit about this.
Yeah, but we have a round-the-wall race.
Around the wall race.
Yes.
So it's 2 kilometers.
Yeah, a little bit longer. Yeah,
little bit.
you have to start over there.
Yeah.
On the very end of the Stradum,
Yeah.
our main street. So you're running in this direction. You climb at the city walls. So you're running on the seaside first, and you have around 2 kilometers
Right.
with a lot of steps, and it's very narrow. You know, it was the fortification walls. So it's built for the soldiers, not for the runners. But
Right.
runners are running on a delay of 30 seconds. So only 100 persons.
Okay.
100 participants can enjoy the beauty of the race,
Right.
running around the wall race.
Okay.
And it's very popular, and it sells very, very, very quickly,
Yeah.
which was our goal.
And do you do this at the same time as the half marathon?
We do that day before.
For more seasoned runners, or for those not lucky enough to make it on the Around the Wall race, there is a half marathon through Dubrovnik as well. Given that the city is so compact, this is a big deal for everyone here. What a beautiful way to see the city. Most who come to Dubrovnik simply walk the city streets. At this pace, you could see the whole city in a day, even by foot. The half marathon route highlights some of Dubrovnik's most beautiful byways, celebrating its architecture, steep hills, and scenery. This is all thanks to Alan, who wants to bring in a new kind of sports tourism to the city.
6 years ago, you could not find someone running on the street, especially locals.
Right.
We had a very small running community here, around 50 of them running in Dubrovnik Triathlon Club or Dubrovnik Running Community, how they call themselves. 2015, we had International Half Marathon Dubrovnik. It was too long for us, and we wanted to cut it down. We wanted to have a new and fresh brand, as Dubrovnik has to have.
Right.
And we name it Do Motion, Dubrovnik in Motion.
Okay.
That was idea to bring more people to have fun in Dubrovnik, running our event and enjoying in the beauty of the city of Dubrovnik.
And maybe staying longer.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the problem with
Yes.
the cruise ship tourism
Yes.
and it's the short-termness of it all, right?
Yes.
And having people spend more time and really get to know the city from a few different angles.
Yes, of course, and that was our idea, that was our goal, and I think we succeeded because 2016 and 2019, we had great numbers.
Alan tells me that runners coming for his races stay twice as long in Dubrovnik as regular tourists, on average. This means more money spent in Dubrovnik, and perhaps most importantly, more time spent in Dubrovnik. So perhaps it's not fair to group all tourists together. The type that seems to draw concern are those who only stay for a day or less, promoting fast, cheap experiences, rather than those interested in getting a genuine Croatian experience. I want the real thing, so I'm wandering through the neighborhoods where the locals actually live.
You know, the great thing about the old town of Dubrovnik is that it's actually kind of like a saddle shape. On one side, you have steep cliffs, and the houses are built up on steps, and we're kind of amongst that now. And then in the middle, you've got this flat terrace area, and that's where all the shops are, that's where the beautiful cafes are. But up here, this is where the people live.
After wandering some time, I'm drawn to the doorway of a home propped open. Out of it spills smells and sounds that I cannot ignore. Herbs, meats, fruit. It calls out to me. I've stumbled upon Nina's home. Nina is a Dubrovnik local who keeps her door open for this very reason. Those who wander, like myself, inevitably find her and her delicious home goods.
On the green market, you can find maybe 10, 15 stalls with homemade products. There's also many people makes, especially almonds and oranges.
Okay.
But they don't open the door home. They prepare it home and then came in a town or
Right.
market and sell out that products. Yeah.
Right.
And why I opened the door, because I think that's a good idea actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Why
love
not?
it.
Why not? I want to show you how I do that.
Yeah.
I know. I actually not only show. You know, first of all, why people came inside, smells good.
It does smell good.
Yeah, it smells good.
Because you cook right there. Yeah.
This is very important also.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's great because I'm a tourist and I'm trying to figure out what Dubrovnik is all about.
Okay.
So for me to come walking down the street and
Yeah.
see your place
Yeah.
and then actually come into your home
Yes.
and then have a chance to try things and have a little drink and get a chance to talk to you
Yeah.
in your home with the paintings on the wall
Yeah.
and your kitchen right behind you and everything up front.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Meeting locals from cities around the world is something I'm very used to, but being invited into someone's living room or kitchen, that's special. That's letting your guard down. That's really trusting the world and its people. I find it inspiring. It takes me back to an expedition I made through Thailand some years ago, alone except for my guide Chani. I hopped from village to village as we cut through the jungle trail and over mountain crests. The rural villagers of Thailand offered a similar hospitality to Nina. After a long day of trekking, I'm used to making a quick meal by the campfire, but these villages wouldn't simply let me eat my camp food. Every night we stayed in a village, an elaborate meal was cooked for us. Often, I could not even share a word with these individuals, but the sentiment was clear. All are welcome in homes of those who see the best and the good in this world. And I'm lucky to so often find myself around those very kinds of people. Ask yourself, when you travel, no matter how near or far, do you allow yourself the opportunity to sit and listen to local people? Do you soak up everything you can, the culture and the cuisine? Do you appreciate the difference between yourself and others? Or does it make you uncomfortable? I encourage you all to lean into these instances. When you find a friendly face that welcomes your company, stop and take it all in. More often than you think, strangers are very willing to share. Back in Dubrovnik, I'm finding this theory to be true in Nina's little kitchen. Look, there are plenty of souvenir shops in Dubrovnik selling local goods, like Kawa, which focuses on handmade crafts. Kawa is the perfect place for someone moving quickly through the city. Inside are wooden vessels, clothes, jewelry, and more, all from creators within a few kilometers of the shop. But what about those who are here for a more personal experience like myself? That's the role Nina plays in her beloved city. Her own personal kitchen, full of candied orange peels, muffins, and even her homemade grappa. The people of Dubrovnik seem to appreciate the dichotomy of the local culture and the businesses that support tourism. As my understanding of Croatia's global appeal develops, I'm seeing that foreign crowds aren't really a problem. They're more of a catalyst for an important conversation about how to keep this unique location thriving. There's something so dramatic about the way the city meets the water here. There's no sandy beaches, just jagged rocks falling into the ocean. After another lap across the city walls, I find a staircase that actually leads out the other side, right onto the water. This is where I run into Chef Darko, a well-traveled Croatian who owns a restaurant in town. He comes here for sunsets and offers me a beer as we get to know each other on the water's edge. Evenings in Croatia, paired with its welcoming people, you just can't beat it. Darko offers to cook me dinner back at his restaurant, which, he says, is unlike anything else in Dubrovnik. How could I refuse? We wander through the familiar streets and alleyways, but this time, I'm following a local. Darko has his own path through this maze of a city. He knows all the shortcuts and ways to avoid crowds. And soon we find ourselves at Azur, Darko's Asian and Mediterranean fusion restaurant. A little bit of everything exists here. Spicy shrimp tacos, stir-fry fish, Sichuan pork. He's got it all. We open a bottle of Croatian wine in the kitchen and watch Chef Darko do what he does best: cook.
Why are you projecting your image to myself? I have a home, you know?
You have a home.
I have a home.
There you go.
It's a real treat to watch what happens behind the scenes at such a distinctive restaurant like Azur. Darko's fun-loving attitude keeps the energy light, much like his dishes. He specializes in assortments of tapas, finger food, dishes meant for sharing and conversing over. I love it. It reminds me of my own time spent abroad.
So you've lived abroad, you've traveled a lot, which is one of the reasons why Azur is such a special restaurant.
Yeah.
So, you know, where have you traveled, where have you worked, and how has that influenced your cooking?
It changed the whole perspective. Yeah. So, you know, we grew up here on a Mediterranean diet, which is basically olive oil, garlic, parsley, a little bit of sea salt. You know, it's kind of bland when you tell that to my wife, who is Indonesian.
Right.
You know, I take out the freshest squid, put it on the grill, you put a little bit of salt on that, a little bit of olive oil, that's it. And then what she does, she puts, you know, the sambal, the spicy chilies and stuff. And I was thinking, wow, you ruined the dish. But no, you know, once you get into this, it actually enhances the taste of the product.
Okay.
For a city walled off from the world, you might expect the global influences of Dubrovnik to be limited, but you'd be mistaken. Dario's local beers also take influence from a worldly conversation.
Third beers here is Goa. Okay, Goa. It's
Like
not
the city in India.
Connection with India is actually it's Indian Pale Ale is the style.
Nomad.
But Dubrovnik, they have a trade colony in India.
Really?
In Goa, yes.
Okay.
Even today we have a church of Saint Blasius, and the Saint Blasius is protector of whole Dubrovnik. Even still now in India, in Goa, you have Saint Blasius Church. So the idea was to connect actually the story about Indian Pale Ale from India and Dubrovnik.
As someone who's lived in China and traveled all over India myself, I see how fruitful this global interaction can be. Mediterranean cuisine doesn't require much beyond its original ingredients. There's a simplicity about it that makes it shine. But the spicy peppers, oils, and layered dishes of the East are just bursting with complexity and flavor. And I respect Darko and Dario's missions of shaking up the understanding of just what food can be here in Dubrovnik.
So look, you came back to Dubrovnik 10 years ago. You wanted to open up Azur. I mean, did people think you were crazy to bring like Asian fusion, Asian Mediterranean fusion?
Yeah. They had no idea what it is. They were coming here and they were saying, "Oh, this is not Chinese restaurant. You don't have rice." And on the first menu, I didn't have rice, and I'm not Chinese restaurant.
Right.
So that tells a lot about knowledge, local people about different ethnic cuisines.
Right.
And they needed to be educated. And now they love it. I have regulars, like local, like older ladies coming, you know, and they love it. They love a little heat in their life.
Yeah,
they
a little
want to
hit in their
spice
life.
it up a little
Spice
bit.
it up. I love that.
Yeah.
So your clientele is not just tourists, but also some local people.
No, yeah. Local people, mostly local people that are well traveled.
Right.
But I have some people, just neighbors here behind the corner. They come once a week, and they said that when they get inside, when they smell the Sichuan pepper, and chilies a little bit, they feel like they're in Beijing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite
it's
nice.
Really, yeah.
Because for you, you've been lucky. You've had the chance to travel.
Yeah.
And if you can capture some of that and bring it back, and educate your fellow city folks, then that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a small step towards greater knowledge of local people. Let's say.
Yeah. No, that's important.
Yeah, I feel like a teacher, like a professor at the university.
A professor of cuisine or food?
Professor of life, yeah.
Simply by sharing meals with new friends, I'm realizing that a lot of Dubrovnik's outlook on life comes from conversations around meals. It's not just the slowing down and getting to know each other. It's the stories that these particular dishes tell about the place.
Now, how do you feel being the connecting point between traditional Dubrovnik food and all the tourists that come through here? Because when you go to the restaurants in Dubrovnik, a lot of them are just serving, pizza, pasta, salad.
Yeah.
But you're here trying to educate people. You're using food to show your culture, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I feel good, but you have to know that if you have that is a true actually, because when you have how I told you before, during the day 5,000 to 10,000 people, everybody want to eat something, everybody want to drink something, everybody want to go to toilet and something like that.
Yeah.
It's impossible to everybody give something local, traditional. You don't have a time for that.
Yes.
Not only you,
Yeah.
they don't have a time also.
Yeah.
They need.
Fast.
Yes.
And easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people find us even then 57 steps.
Yeah.
Because that is energy, when you make something, when you create something, when you live life like that,
Yeah.
you are a magnet for some people, not for all people. For some people you're a magnet, and that people you find you.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
I feel confident that I'm exploring Dubrovnik in the right way after visiting Nina. Like she says, I'm naturally drawn to the more authentic experiences here simply by my own curiosity. But wandering won't show me everything. Some details are hiding in plain sight. If you look close enough, very close, you may pick them out. Details that tell a far darker story. See, life in Dubrovnik has not been without its ups and downs. The distinct beauty that stems from Croatia's independence was not simply stumbled upon, it was fought for. In the 1990s, Dubrovnik was involved in a brutal war for independence from former Yugoslavia, which it won. Shortly after, Croatia was sucked into the Bosnian War. Both military entanglements resulted in the shelling and destruction of much of the beauty around us now. So who keeps track of these memories from a war-torn past? A photographer named Wade Goddard, who experienced and photographed much of these wars. He now runs a museum of war photography in town, full of pictures from this time of violence.
I was walking down the street and I picked up a magazine, photo magazine from 7-Eleven or whatever, a kiosk shop.
Yeah.
And there was a story about Vukovar in Croatia on the cover. And I brought the magazine, went home, I read the magazine. It was amazing black and white work. And then at the end of the article was the photographer's telephone number.
At the end of the article,
Yeah.
they had the photographer's telephone
I
number.
guess he was hoping to get some more work.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they did that back in the
Well,
day.
they did it. And so the photographer was Rene Schultz.
Okay.
And it took me about a month to bottle up the courage to call the guy.
Sure.
And I called him and I said, listen, I'm a nobody, but I saw your magazine article, I really like what you do, and if you have time to waste on me for a coffee or a drink, I'd be keen to talk to you.
And he was based in London as well.
He was based in London. And over this, we actually became friends over the winter of '91.
Sure.
So the war broke out in Bosnia in April of '92. And he looked at me and says, well, if you want to do this kind of thing,
This is it.
let's go.
Wow. Wow.
So, I had some money.
Did you even have a camera? Like, were you...
I had one camera, but I had some money that I had been saved up. I said, okay, what other camera do I need? I brought the camera. I had 400 pounds or 600 pounds in my pocket.
Wow.
We got in his car. We drove to the ferry, across to Calais.
Right.
Ran out of gas about 30 kilometres after we got to France.
Yeah.
Walking down the motorway with 2 canisters of gas, filling up the car. We drove all the way to Slovenia.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And so began the long career of war photography from Wade. The man spent years documenting the suffering in the Balkans, the lack of humanitarian aid, the hunger for life. I must admit, it's tough to see some of these photographs. It's not an aspect of history many want to lean into. So why dedicate a whole building in Dubrovnik to this work? Wade says the purpose is to protest war and violence in general. It's impossible to glorify fighting when faced with its most visceral consequences. The work is powerful, and I see the effects of it on its guests as they wander through. To forget history is to be condemned to repeat it, and there's no forgetting here at the museum.
For someone who based himself in Croatia to cover the war, and then for you to stay here afterwards, is pretty unique. Like, I don't know a lot of people who have covered, you know, something that was obviously...
I mean, I like the people here.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
kind of mad and crazy, but I really like them. And
There
I
we
like
go.
the lifestyle, you know, as well.
The lifestyle's amazing.
The lifestyle, it's not, okay, 9 to 5, work, 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 work. These people do not live to work.
No.
They work just to live.
Yeah.
And live they do. They eat well, they holiday well, they party well.
Great wine.
Yeah, I mean, they really, life takes first place.
I could get pretty used to this idea, life taking first place. The atmosphere and pace here is serene, and community is at the top of the list of priorities here in Dubrovnik. These are some of the things I'm talking about with my pal Sasha, who owns Divino Wine Bar in town. It's the perfect place to take my mind off of things after leaving Wade and his war photography museum. You see, Sasha's a wine expert, but he doesn't believe in the pretentious attitude that is so pervasive amongst the entire wine ecosystem. He wanted to create a bar that served incredible wine, but that felt like a casual neighborhood place, and that's exactly what he's done, exemplified by the little mantras scribbled all over the interior walls of Divino. Walking inside feels like being in an old friend's living room. Sasha and I grab a booth and catch up over a variety of his favorite wines in stock.
So my philosophy with wine is all wine is good wine. Now hold on to this for 1 second. People are going to be going, no, it's horrible, it's this, it's that. I'm not talking about the corked wines or the wines that are vinegar there.
Okay.
This particular wine I was talking about, my uncle makes one for himself, but one for the market. The one he makes for himself was completely oxidized, it's horribly bitter.
Okay.
And I said to him, this is oxidized, you know, this is off. It's not good. Yeah, this is how the old fellas like it.
The old fellas.
So,
nice.
Some of the old wines in Yugoslavia was actually topped up with grappa.
Topped up.
Or raki, as we call it here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because it would boost the alcohol level, would make it stronger, and the value would be more.
Okay.
That was typical of a lot of Yugoslavian wines. It works. Why change it?
Right.
You know?
The wine industry is so snobby, and you can hardly have a conversation with anyone. Why not just go somewhere and figure out how the local people like it, and then just adjust?
Enjoy your wine. That's it. You know,
drink with people
don't let
you like.
anybody influence what you like. And if you can enjoy that good Chateau Le Carton,
Right.
you know, for $4 or $5 for 4 litres, enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with it.
The box
Chateau Le
wine.
Carton, it's great.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay.
You know, the Italians, they drink red wine with fish. What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
You know, so enjoy what you like. And I mean, there's wines that will complement, obviously, a little bit better. This is something that we'd like to do in my new project eventually. So
I feel like I came in here looking for like direction on wine, but I ended up getting a lot of direction about life. Are you like a little philosopher?
No. I'm still learning, mate. I got to 20, I knew everything. I got to 30, I knew. And I got to 40, I realised I don't know nothing.
Yeah, that's the way it works, right?
That's life.
Sasha, Wade, these guys have traveled the globe and landed here, kind of like me. It's rewarding to find similarities in our worldviews, despite being from such different places. But these guys aren't the only ones who have been around. I catch back up with Jelena to discuss her own travels and see what she has seen change throughout the years.
You lived in Verona, you lived in Vienna, you lived in, what, Venice?
Yes.
You lived in Shanghai? Like, these are all also very incredible cities. I find it very interesting that you still feel, excited and inspired to come back to Dubrovnik.
For me, it's very important that even though it's a small city, it has this international vibe.
Yeah.
So I really like to work with international people because I like to always question my viewpoints about something. I like to be questioned all the time. So it's great here, even when here maybe I take something for granted. When the people ask me about something, then I also start to rethink about some things.
That's beautiful.
Which is great.
We need more people like you in the world.
Folks from all over the world love Dubrovnik, and a handful of them stay for good. The ones I've met this week really seem to make the city more vibrant and alive.
So it started with a space, but Dubrovnik is, it has a history.
Yeah.
It's a fortress. It's a fortress city. It has this history of conflict behind it. Of course, also with the recent war. And it's a mega tourist attraction.
Yeah.
And what better place to educate the public about consequences of war than a place that has every single day a new influx of tens of thousands of tourists.
Right.
I mean, I don't get tens of thousands of tourists a day, but certainly get enough people interested to come in here to support this venture.
Wade has a good point. Not everyone coming into town needs to search out hidden gems like his. Just enough of the crowd to keep those spaces growing. A tourist myself, I've only been here for a week or so, and already strangers are waving me in, recognizing my face. The only real problem, so to speak, in town is the heavy tourism Dubrovnik experiences each year. To me, this is a great problem to have. Folks from all over the world are dying to experience a piece of Dubrovnik. Bo has a nice outlook on the crowds, one that I think sums up my own outlook after my time spent here.
You know what? I'm like a sentimental fool, right? So I love tourism.
Yeah.
Because if you strip away all the modern jargon, right? What tourism is you going to a foreign country,
Sure.
right? Foreign land, for no other reason than to find out about what it's like, right? To enjoy yourself, to try their food, their customs, their traditions, to get in touch with their culture. It's a very, very positive thing.
Yeah.
I think if everybody traveled extensively, I don't want to say there would be no wars, but it's much tougher hating on somebody you've met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'd all be better people.
Yeah.
And it's the people I'll miss more than anything. The easy way of life, the long afternoons filled with espresso and conversation, soaking up the Mediterranean sun. Dubrovnik's people know they have something special here, and they're proud of it.
Split's beautiful, but
Right.
Dubrovnik was, the people coming in and everyone's on holidays, everyone's just relaxed.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different,
It has a chill vibe.
it has got a chill vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are very proud because we have our own customs, our own meals, and people who are very, very warm.
Okay.
So that's what it makes this place very, very special. When people come here, they feel totally safe.
Right.
And they always tell me, like, we want to move here because they are unlocking the secret of easy living in Croatia.
Whether you're dealing with a museum or whether you're dealing with a brewery, like everyone in Dubrovnik knows Dubrovnik history and is proud of it and wants to incorporate that in their businesses or in their communication or the way they tell the story of Dubrovnik, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I think Dubrovnik now, even in Croatia, has a very peculiar status because a lot of people, they always say, I'm from Dubrovnik, then they say, I'm from Croatia.
Right.
And everyone recognizes our accent, which is completely different from the other accents of Croatia. So with these accents, I can always, for example, when I'm in Zagreb, when I hear people talking, they're very proud of being from Dubrovnik, originating from here.
Forget Game of Thrones and fast food. I hope someday you get to visit Dubrovnik. And when you do, stay a while. I could walk these streets for years and notice something new every time I take a stroll. I see why some think of Dubrovnik as a movie set at first, but that surface beauty is simply a reflection of the depth of the character from those who occupy it. This trip to Dubrovnik has felt like something out of this world, and it couldn't have been that way without all the amazing characters I've met along the way. My cheeks are sore from all the smiling I've done here. My voice is a little scratchy from all the laughter I've shared. That energy comes from a passionate and united community, and I'm feeling incredibly lucky to have witnessed a small part of that this week.
I've been walking these old alleyways for days now, and I've met some incredibly inspiring and interesting characters in Dubrovnik. And I can say that I think I finally have an idea of what makes Dubrovnik special, what gives it that beating heart, what brings this city to life. And yeah, it's going to be sad to say goodbye.
The city walls are perhaps Dubrovnik's most unique feature, one that I hope you won't forget soon. The next time you see them, I hope you won't simply marvel at their beautiful architecture, but also appreciate all that they hold within. Dubrovnik, I'll miss you. And now, I'm off to the next amazing place.